The wooden floors of Master Tanaka's dojo creaked under the weight of 40 students as they watched their sensei demonstrate a devastating combination that had supposedly ended dozens of street fights. Hiroshi Tanaka had built his reputation on intimidation and an undefeated record against local challengers, claiming his iron fist style could defeat any opponent regardless of size or background. What he didn't know was that the quiet man sitting in the back corner who had humbly asked to observe a class was Muhammad Ali, and the heavyweight champion held a legitimate black belt in karate that he had earned in secret years before his boxing fame. Ali had come to Los Angeles for a charity event and decided to visit the dojo after hearing about Tanaka's boastful claims from a mutual friend. The 28-year-old boxer was at the peak of his career, having just defended his title for the third time, but his interest in martial arts ran much deeper than most people knew. He'd been studying karate privately since 1962, earning his black belt under the legendary Master Jun Rhee, though he kept this achievement quiet to maintain focus on his boxing career. If you're already feeling the tension building in this dojo, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, because this confrontation is about to become legendary. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know this story is reaching people who understand that sometimes the most dangerous opponents are the ones who don't look dangerous at all. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, because stories like this prove that true martial arts mastery comes from humility, not arrogance. Master Tanaka stood 5 feet 8 inches tall, but carried himself like a giant, his black belt worn with the pride of someone who had never faced a real challenge. His dojo walls were covered with certificates, trophies, and photographs of him breaking boards and bricks, but notably absent were any pictures of him competing against legitimate martial artists. He had built his reputation by carefully choosing his opponents, local tough guys, drunk college students, and wannabe fighters who lacked real training. In true martial arts, Tanaka announced to his students, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never been contradicted, size means nothing. Technique conquers all. I have defeated men twice my size, using nothing but proper form and mental discipline. Ali listened quietly from his position in the back, dressed in simple street clothes that concealed his incredible physical conditioning. To the casual observer, he looked like just another curious spectator, perhaps a potential student interested in learning self-defense. His calm demeanor and respectful silence gave no indication that he was one of the most dangerous men on the planet. In fact, Tanaka continued, warming to his favorite subject, I could defeat any so-called fighter, regardless of their reputation. Boxers, especially, are nothing but crude brawlers with no understanding of true combat. They rely on brute force instead of skill. Several students nodded in agreement, having been conditioned to accept their master's pronouncements without question. But Ali's eyebrows raised slightly at the direct challenge to his profession. Still, he remained silent, curious to see how far Tanaka's arrogance would take him. Take that loudmouth Muhammad Ali, for example, Tanaka said, his voice dripping with disdain. Everyone thinks he's so great because he can punch hard and talk big. But put him against a true martial artist, someone who understands leverage and technique, and he would be helpless as a child. The irony of the statement hung in the air like incense, though only Ali fully appreciated it. He had spent years studying the very techniques Tanaka was dismissing boxing for lacking, and he understood better than anyone in that room how the two arts could complement each other. Master, one of the students asked, have you ever fought a professional boxer? Tanaka's chest puffed out with pride. I have defeated several men who claim to have boxing experience. They all fell to superior technique within seconds. Ali almost smiled at the qualification. Claimed to have boxing experience was very different from actually being a trained boxer, let alone a world champion. But he continued to observe, fascinated by the psychology of a man who had convinced himself and others of his invincibility through carefully managed encounters. "In fact," Tanaka announced, scanning the room with the confidence of a man who had never been challenged, "I will make an open offer to anyone in this room. If you think you can defeat the Iron Fist style, step forward now. I will demonstrate why true martial arts always triumph over crude fighting." The students looked around nervously, none willing to challenge their master. They had seen him demolish previous challengers, though none of them realized how carefully those opponents had been selected. The silence stretched for nearly a minute before Ali slowly raised his hand. "Excuse me, Master Tanaka," Ali said, his voice carrying the distinctive cadence that would have immediately identified him to anyone paying attention. "I'd like to accept your challenge." Tanaka looked at the tall, athletic black man with a mixture of surprise and amusement. "You? What's your fighting experience, young man?" "I've done a little boxing," Ali replied modestly. "And I've studied some martial arts." "A little boxing," Tanaka repeated with a condescending laugh. "Well, this will be educational for everyone. You'll learn the difference between street fighting and true martial arts." As Ali stood and began to remove his jacket, his incredible physical conditioning became apparent. His shoulders were broader than they had appeared while sitting, his arms longer and more muscular, and his movement carried the fluid grace of a natural athlete. But Tanaka was too caught up in his own confidence to pay attention to these warning signs. "What's your name, challenger?" Tanaka asked as he took his fighting stance. "Cassius," Ali replied, using his birth name to maintain his anonymity a little longer. "Cassius Clay." A few of the older students stirred at the name, recognition beginning to dawn, but Tanaka was too focused on his impending demonstration to notice their reactions. You're probably wondering how a karate master could be so blind to who he was facing. Write Ali in the comments if you believe that true confidence comes from skill and preparation, not from carefully chosen easy victories. The two men faced each other in the center of the dojo, the students forming a circle around them. Tanaka assumed his traditional karate stance, hands positioned for the lightning-fast strikes that had overwhelmed his previous opponents. Ali, meanwhile, took a stance that looked deceptively casual, but was actually a perfect blend of boxing and karate positioning. "I'll try to end this quickly," Tanaka announced to his students. "Watch how I use his momentum against him." What happened next would be discussed in martial arts circles for decades. Tanaka launched his attack with the speed and precision that had made him locally famous, throwing a series of strikes that would have overwhelmed most opponents. But Ali wasn't most opponents. Moving with the incredible reflexes that had made him heavyweight champion, Ali slipped Tanaka's first punch by mere inches, countered with a lightning-fast jab that stopped just short of the master's nose, then flowed into a perfect karate kata sequence that demonstrated technical mastery far beyond anything Tanaka had ever achieved. The combination was so fast and fluid that most of the students couldn't follow it, but the message was clear. Ali had just demonstrated that he could have ended the fight instantly if he had chosen to. Tanaka stumbled backward, his eyes wide with shock. "How did you—" "Master Junri is an excellent teacher," Ali said calmly, mentioning the name of one of the most respected karate instructors in America. "He taught me that true martial arts is about control, not domination." The recognition hit Tanaka like a physical blow. Master Junri was legendary in martial arts circles, and anyone who had trained under him was no amateur. But before he could process this information fully, Ali continued his demonstration. "You want to see the difference between boxing and martial arts?" Ali asked, his voice still respectful, but now carrying an edge of authority. "Let me show you how they work together." What followed was a masterclass in combat integration. Ali moved like water, flowing between boxing combinations and karate techniques with such seamless precision that it became clear he wasn't just competent in both arts. He had achieved a level of mastery that allowed him to blend them into something entirely new. He threw a boxing combination that forced Tanaka to defend high, then swept his legs with a perfect karate technique. When Tanaka tried to counter with a traditional karate strike, Ali caught his wrist and demonstrated a joint lock that could have broken the master's arm if applied with full force. "The problem with your philosophy," Ali said as he released Tanaka and stepped back, "is that you think one style is superior to all others, but a true martial artist learns from everything." Tanaka was breathing heavily now, his confidence completely shattered. In less than 2 minutes, this stranger had demonstrated technical superiority in both boxing and karate, showing combinations and transitions that Tanaka had never even imagined possible. "Who are you?" Tanaka gasped, though part of him was beginning to suspect the answer. Ali smiled, that famous smile that had charmed the world. "I'm Muhammad Ali, and you're right about one thing. Technique does matter, but so does respect, humility, and never underestimating your opponent." The revelation sent shockwaves through the dojo. Students who had been recording the encounter on their phones suddenly realized they had captured something historic, the moment when the most famous boxer in the world revealed his secret mastery of karate by humbling an arrogant master. But Ali wasn't finished. "Master Tanaka, you have good technique. Your students respect you, but you've been teaching them that martial arts is about proving superiority over others. That's not what it's about." He gestured to the students gathered around them. "These young people are looking to you for guidance, not just in fighting, but in character. When you tell them that boxers are crude brawlers, or that your style is superior to all others, you're teaching them arrogance instead of wisdom." Tanaka stood in the center of his own dojo, humiliated but also experiencing something he hadn't felt in years, the opportunity to learn from someone truly superior. "What should I be teaching them?" "Teach them that every martial art has something valuable to offer," Ali replied. "Teach them that true strength comes from protecting others, not dominating them. And teach them that the moment you think you can't learn anything new is the moment you stop being a martial artist." The silence in the dojo was profound as students processed what they had just witnessed. Their master, who had seemed invincible, had been completely outclassed by someone who had approached the situation with humility and respect. "Master Ali," one of the students finally spoke up, "would you teach us some of what you know?" Ali looked at Tanaka, seeking permission. Despite everything that had happened, he still respected the hierarchy of the dojo. "That's up to Master Tanaka. This is his school." Tanaka swallowed his pride and bowed deeply to Ali. "It would be an honor to have you share your knowledge with my students." What followed was an impromptu seminar that none of the students would ever forget. Ali demonstrated how boxing footwork could enhance karate mobility, how boxing combinations could set up traditional martial arts techniques, and how the mental discipline required for both arts was essentially the same. More importantly, he taught them about the philosophy that had guided his own training. "I didn't learn karate to become a better boxer," he explained. "I learned it to become a better person. Martial arts teaches you discipline, respect, and humility. Those lessons are more valuable than any fighting technique." He worked with each student individually, correcting their form and offering encouragement. His natural charisma and genuine interest in their development transformed the atmosphere of the dojo from one of intimidation to one of learning and growth. "The greatest victory in martial arts," Ali told them as the impromptu lesson concluded, "isn't defeating an opponent. It's conquering your own ego and using your skills to make the world a better place." As Ali prepared to leave, Tanaka approached him privately. "I owe you an apology," the master said, "and more than that, I owe you gratitude. You could have humiliated me completely, but instead, you taught me something valuable." "We all have something to learn from each other," Ali replied. Your technique is solid, and your dedication to your students is obvious. Just remember that true mastery comes from lifting others up, not putting them down. The story of Ali's visit to Tanaka's dojo spread quickly through martial arts communities, but it was the aftermath that proved most significant. Tanaka completely transformed his teaching philosophy, emphasizing humility, respect, and continuous learning. He began inviting instructors from other martial arts to teach at his dojo, creating a more well-rounded program for his students. Several of his students went on to become successful martial artists themselves, crediting that day with Ali as the moment they learned what martial arts was really about. They spoke not just of his incredible skill, but of his grace in victory and his commitment to education over domination. Ali, for his part, continued to study martial arts throughout his boxing career, though he kept this aspect of his training largely private. He understood that his public image was built on boxing, but privately he credited his karate training with improving his footwork, balance, and mental discipline. Years later, when asked about the incident, Ali would say, "That day taught me as much as it taught anyone else. It reminded me that no matter how successful you become, you should never stop being a student, and you should never use your skills to make others feel small." Master Tanaka eventually became one of the most respected instructors in Los Angeles, known not for his invincibility, but for his wisdom and humility. He kept a photograph of himself with Ali on his office wall, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of the day he learned the difference between being a fighter and being a martial artist. The encounter became legendary in martial arts circles, retold as an example of how true mastery manifests itself, not in dominating others, but in elevating them. It demonstrated that the greatest warriors are often the most humble, and that real strength comes from the confidence to learn from anyone, regardless of their background or reputation. Today, the story serves as a reminder that in martial arts, as in life, the moment you think you have nothing left to learn is the moment you stop growing. Ali's secret karate mastery was impressive, but his ability to turn a potential humiliation into a teaching moment was the mark of a true champion. What do you think about Ali's approach to handling Tanaka's arrogance? Have you ever encountered someone who used their skills to teach rather than dominate? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing about real-world examples of how true masters handle challenging situations. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that real strength comes from humility, and that the greatest victories are the ones that help others become better versions of themselves.